We're live. Painkiller Nearly, episode 157.
Game of Thrones, probably the best episode they've ever made.
Yeah.
It was probably the best. It's top 3 for sure. The first time the dragon came down and saved the Khaleesi in the fighting pits of Marine or whatever, that was pretty fucking epic. Mm-hmm. Battle of the Bastards was so satisfying. You finally, some people got their comeuppance. You had so much epic shit. You had giants battling it out. It was crazy, and it's still probably the greatest like swords and shields battle ever put to film. But man,
I want to talk about that. So the Game of Thrones scenes tend not to have a lot of aerial shots. They don't look like Lord of the Rings battles. They're more like cameraman right in the mix of it, getting bumped by horses and stuff. And at first I thought that was just an artistic decision. I know I told you guys this before, but I found out it's like an OSHA issue. Like they don't have insurance or something to let them fly drones over all the actors. So that's why the cameras tend to be shoulder level for Game of Thrones. Hey, it was on the internet. There's no arguing that. No, but it was like behind the scenes.
Where do they film it?
All over,
right? Like Czechoslovakia or something. I don't even know, but yeah, apparently that's a big part of the reason why you see very few overhead battle shots there, because they don't have the the rights, the equipment, the insurance, whatever it is. I saw it in a behind the scenes thing.
Huh, I didn't know that. But yeah, to your point about the Battle of the Bastards, because a lot of those battles where you're right in there really, really sucked. Like, the only thing that made the battles in Braveheart, for example, palatable is that I saw them for the first time when I was 12 or whatever it was. But if you go back and you watch Braveheart, good movie, but you watch those battle scenes and it's just some guy in the middle of a group of men just shaking the camera and moving it around, and it's meant to be so quick, fast moving that you disorient yourself and you kind of just get lost in like, oh, the blur of battle, the fog of war.
Cuts.
But this is way, way better than that. It tracks the same guy. You watch two different like swords come down and he dodges them, and it's like, oh, that's pretty dope. Like, he just did that. Like, if you like in real battle, if you miss one of those swords, you're dead. And so of course he was doing this kind of shit all the time, dipping and diving and dodging. But I thought this most recent episode, as far as the action scenes, since we're just talking about the action scene for now with the ice people and the White Walkers and the dragons, that was a little below Battle of the Bastards for me. Because I think Battle of the Bastards was better orchestrated, but maybe you guys disagree.
Sometimes when I see it, and I'm like, I think that's the best episode of Game of Thrones ever. Can that be? Or am I just suffering from I don't know what it'd be called.
Recency bias.
I was just going to say recency bias. Yeah. Am I suffering from a recency bias? And I think back and I'm like, well, which one would be better, right? I liked Battle of the Bastards, but I thought there were lots of slow parts that pulled it down. In my mind, Battle of the Bastards was just a very good fight scene, combined with kind of a satisfying end to Ramsay, and that's it. Whereas this, like, there was, I don't know, I liked it more. As I think it through, like, maybe I am suffering from a recency bias, but I like this more. I thought there was better character development. I liked Jon going on. I liked all of it. I liked all of it so much. It was really, really
there was
good.
A lot of.
It's definitely not that one trounces the other one. They're both very good.
There was a lot of fan service in this episode, which I felt could have been.
Is that bad?
Better. Yeah, but it's bad when you just like. It's like eating a dinner of brownies. Like there's not enough. Yeah. It's like eating a dinner of brownies. At the end of it, your teeth hurt a little bit, and your tummy hurts because you didn't get any meat and potatoes. So like that whole time when they were walking, every conversation they had when they were walking was epic, because you've got these characters like who normally don't discourse with one another, talking about important shit. There was no talk about the weather or, oh, it's very cold, isn't it? No, none of that shit. You got Jon talking to Jorah about the family sword. So important. Such an interesting scene, because you want to know, what does Jorah think when he sees his daddy's sword on this guy's hip and he's carved a new pommel on it? He doesn't know that like his dad carved that pommel. Maybe he thinks that's a sign of disrespect that Jon is showing. So that's a huge moment when he's like, you know, I didn't do this to your sword. Your dad did it, and then he gave it to me. But you should maybe have it back. And he's like, oh, no.
I didn't even request it.
Yeah. So that was big. And then you got Tormund talking to the Hound about whether or not like Tormund likes dick or not. And he's like, dick? It's like, cock. Oh, no, I like pussy. Like, I love that whole scene. And it comes up where Brienne comes up.
Yeah. That was one of the highlights in dialogue. Like that. It's like chaos is a ladder. him talking about Brienne. Like that dialogue for me was awesome. And I wish I could remember the lines like Kyle does, but he's like, oh yeah, I got a woman back at home. Oh, you with her? Well, not really with her. He's like, does she look at you mean like she wants to kill you? So you do know her. And it was just like, yeah, it was great. It was
that whole thing was good. But the thing is, like, here's where that should have been. It's the pacing. And I'm not talking about the fast forward mode. I'm okay with that at this point, I suppose, because I don't have any other choice. But it's more about the distribution. It's how they sort out the courses of the meal. Like lots of brownies in one spot. Here's what I would have liked a little bit better. When they were stuck on that rock in the middle of the lake, not a lot happened there. They could have taken one of those conversations that occurred while they were walking and nothing was happening, throw that at nighttime on the island in the middle of the lake, because they would have had to spend like a day and a half, 2 days there for the Raven to make its way and then the Khaleesi to make it back. Show us that a little bit of time is passing. The audience appreciates that so much when even if it's just a 30-second scene that lets you know that, oh shit, a day and a half have passed. They're thinking about eating that burned red shirt guy over there whose name never comes up. I like just about everything about it. When they're out there on
that's a good idea.
I think Tormund maybe should have died. I hate to say it because he's one of my favorite characters. But when he was getting drug into the ice, I was like, doo, 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 my heart's pounding, and I'm like, and then they pull him out. I'm like, oh man, if he had died, I think that whole thing would have been really a lot more.
I thought he was gonna die.
I thought too.
I thought that made sense as a way for Jon to kind of fully gain control of the wildlings, and they'd finally be like, well, Tormund trusted you, and we have no option, so we're with Jon Snow too now, and it'd be another uniting effort.
Yes. Here's what I would have liked to have seen, but I wouldn't like that to be the way Tormund dies, because that's kind of a bitchy death. Here's what I would have liked to have seen. What if, like, Tormund challenges the Night King? Like what if he's, like, talking shit to the Night King, and the Night King's like, all right, everybody, step aside. Big man wants to fight, and the Night King steps down with his ice spear or whatever, and he and Tormund have a fight where Tormund is getting the worst of it, big time. It's clear from this fight that, like, oh, shit, like, we're not even equipped for this. But just as Tormund's about to die, he throws one of those dragon stone daggers into the Ice King's belly, and everybody's like, oh, we got him! And then the Ice King's like, fuck you, pulls it out and speaks for the first time. Like, I don't know, he drops like a Hasta La Vista baby level, like, one-liner, and, like, destroys Tormund right there.
It's time for you to chill.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, how horrible would that? How much would that ruin it?
Watch again. And then, like, Jon Snow, all the main characters are like, "Oh shit, we don't even know how to kill this guy." Because one of the things I like when those little tidbits for us is, like, if you look closely, at first I was like, "Why doesn't Jorah have a sword? Where's Jorah's sword?" And then I realized that Jorah and Tormund each are double fisting dragon glass weapons. Tormund has a hatchet in one hand and a blade in the other, and they're fucking machine gunning through the dead. That's why they're able to survive for so long on the rock. They're one hit killing these things with these magic weapons. Everybody in the crowd has a magic weapon.
We all know from Nazi Zombies how useful that is. Insta-kill.
Insta-kill. So it's I like that a lot. I love the fucking fire swords. I
have a thing I want to throw. So I got this on the internet, and it's one of those observations that I didn't really make myself, but liked afterwards. So there's the Night King, and then there's White Walkers, and then there's Whites. White Walkers are the long-haired kind of lieutenants underneath the king, and then Whites are the mindless zombies. To make a mindless zombie, you just kind of raise them, or they become them, like Walking Dead style, after you kill them, and suddenly they just sort of come to life. To make a White Walker, you touch a baby, and then they grow up as a White Walker. Well, the thing is, when they pulled the dragon out, he didn't become a white. Like, he touched his face and did the White Walker thing. Like, somehow the dragon could possibly be more than just like the polar bear or whatever, that he could be like a lieutenant or something higher, because it was the face touch conversion to the blue eyes, not just a general dead dude.
How would the end result differ, I guess? Because as I look, what I think an ice dragon is going to be able to do, it's going to be sentient enough. It's not going to be like coming up with like battle plans on its own, because Khaleesi's dragons don't really do that. They just obey orders. So I expect it to be like an RC ice breathing death machine that I I just gotta believe the Night King's gonna ride that motherfucker. He's gonna ride that motherfucker 100%.
Next episode.
Yeah, I think he rides it. I haven't seen any teasers, any spoilers, anything like that. But just my own the way this should go down if you're making a fucking show. I made the guess weeks ago that eventually dragons are just gonna rape the shit out of oceans of whites. Of course they are. That's what everybody wants to see. Why would they deny us that when it's so easy to do?
You're
So
right, but it turns out that's a dangerous
ride
occupation. Dragons last about
It
3
is
minutes
if
doing
fucking-
that.
If the Olympic spear thrower from Iceland is around, you're absolutely fucking right. That dude was. Did you see the little Reddit gif where they add the captions and he's like, "No way, you can get him twice. That was totally luck." He's just like, "What are you doing? Heiling Hitler?" Like, no, man, I'm Amos.
I think the new dragon is gonna shoot a giant ice beam.
Yes.
And that'll be pretty cool because he's gonna freeze a whole line of screaming, ill strategized Dothraki as they're hooping and hollering into battle. It's going to be the exact antithesis of Daenerys' dragon. Just going to be and they're all going to be frozen horses and shit. It's going to be really cool.
It's going to be like an X-Men's power.
My favorite part of that whole episode was exactly, I guess, what Woody, you've kind of been alluding to it, where you're like, oh, Daenerys has to get nerfed. The dragons are too powerful. And I think I said for a while, correct me if I'm wrong, that we're going to get up there and we're going to see that these White Walkers are more hardcore than we think they are at the moment. They're not just raising people.
I told you White Walkers take out dragons.
They do. And he clearly not even, like what I liked about it is the guy, he didn't look at it like the Night King. I mean, he didn't go like, oh, fuck. Oh fuck! God damn it! We've totally misgauged our position here, guys.
Yeah.
He just looked over at it and he was like, "Well, my word, it has been a winter war too, hasn't it, guys? All right, can I get that?" And
you got the dragon
take
spear?
any longer to aim? No.
Who's got the dragon spears?
Yeah, who's got the dragon spear? Oh, we made tens of thousands of them because we've had nothing but time.
And it's made of ice. Oh, you want some more? Shake, 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 shake.
Dude, that was the best. Just seeing how lackadaisical and not give a fuck, and just seeing Danny's face of but that's the thing that makes people listen to me. Without that, I'm just a bad leader. Oh, I like that. I like that a good bit.
Another fan theory. I don't know if this is true, but Daenerys will never have another child. Only blood pays for blood. That was the thing, right? Well, now her kid died. Does that mean she's fertile? Are her and Jon due for one kid?
I don't think so.
I mean, I think you're right too, but it was a fan theory. I was like, oh, did blood just pay for blood? Do we have a thing?
I think being barren is her cross to bear of sorts, and so I don't think she's going to get a kid in the end. I think that's part of her. That if she could have a child, no woman on the planet is going to be like, I have 3 children, and they're all winged lizards with very small brains, but they listen. And then you have a human baby, and you're not immediately like, okay, I admit I was going crazy with the whole fur baby thing there. They're not actually my children. This is my child. You need to keep her from having a real biological child. Otherwise, the whole fascination with the dragonkin doesn't make any sense. So I don't think she will have a child.
I don't know if she'll have a child. I just think it's highly unlikely. And they got so much other shit to do. Like if you told me there were 3 more seasons of Game of Thrones, I'd be like, oh yeah. There'll be a Little John coming along soon, a little incestuous, sharing like 13.5% on the incest rating meter. John will come along and he'll
have a little hand or a fucked up nose or something.
I'm down there. He's gonna be all fucked.
If John
just fucked.
When John learns his lineage, right, and he learns that he's a Targaryen, that's what he is, right? Is he going to put a 3rd pommel on that sword, or is he just going to keep it stark?
Oh, I hope he comes out with a fuck. See, I love it, and stick with me here. I love it in the movies when the hero finally gets his gear. I like Daredevil on Netflix. He's the only hero on Netflix I enjoy.
Okay.
Fuck the Defenders, all of them except for Daredevil. He's still not Daredevil yet. He has not assumed his final form. He's still the Devil of Hell's Kitchen or whatever. So I would love it if we get to the very end or the 2 episodes from the end, wherever the shit really hits the fan, and Jon shows up with some fucking Targaryen armor like his daddy had, with the rubies and fucking shining and shit. and like he like does one of these, and he realizes he's been dyeing his hair black since he was a child, and it's just silvery, whatever.
His eyes are purple.
Yeah, there's violet eyes and the blonde hair and everything. None of that shit's gonna happen though. I would love it if he had like some took on some Targaryen features. Sure, I'd love that. The armor, the everything. I like the Dany line about he's too small for me, and Peter Dinklage is just like, motherfucker.
Like, bitch, you're 5'2" and I'm 4'2", and so I'm not liking any of this lip. Like,
she's like
that's
every
gotta be
cunt
insulting.
on Tinder.
I think I'm the only one who
like, you know, I'm a dwarf, right? Like, asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I was the only one who was super duper bothered by the fact that the Khaleesi had yet to see Jon Snow's scars. Like, I can't think of like times when that's happened before in movies and TV shows, but sometimes when like the good guy has done some really heroic, hardcore shit, but he's too humble or for whatever reason doesn't tell everyone. He doesn't go around going, you know, like Jesus Christ did, for example. Just everywhere he goes, oh yeah, I'm the son of God. You know,
like Daenerys does.
Yeah,
not a real brag.
Dany does everywhere.
Yeah. John is the opposite of that.
the
He's
opposite
so
of me.
humble. He's so like low key with it. You know, like even when Davos announces him, this is Jon Snow. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? So I was
like,
really
if you
happy
went
she
out
saw
to-
the scars.
If you went out to dinner with a big group of people and Daenerys Targaryen, like, as they were dropping the check off, they would make her announce, like, and here to Daenerys Stormborn of the House Targaryen, payer of checks and getter of appetizers, I present to you the full check. Meanwhile, it seems like Jon Snow, like, it'd be kind of the thing where he'd stand up to leave and people would be like, oh, did somebody pay for this? Somebody paid? Oh, suppose so, yeah. And then they just get up and leave. Like, I'd much rather hang out with Jon Snow at dinner than
Jon
Daenerys.
Snow is the guy who gets up, excuses himself to the bathroom, and pays the whole bill without saying a fucking word. Daenerys,
mention a thing to him. I don't want it to go to my head. You know.
Daenerys is the one who like starts spilling out gold coins onto the table. Will this suffice? Like,
How many gold dragons? I'm a notoriously good tipper. You know? Oh, you know what I liked is almost like a punishment for Gendry for not getting jacked and not, you know, rowing the way he should have. Right as the battle is about to start, they're like, Gendry, you run off and tell someone what the issue is here. And they stole his hammer from him because he would have been too slow otherwise. But that's what you get, Gendry. That's what
Someone said it. I don't know if it was Kyle or Chiz, but they're like, it was you. Kyle's like, yeah, clearly Gendry's been working on cardio all this time, and it paid off.
I told Taylor, I'm like, Taylor, you're much bigger than fucking Gendry. I'm pretty sure you can whip Gendry's ass. Like first of all, Gendry's 5'8", right? 5'9", 5'10", tops.
Actors are often short.
He's just, there's no way that guy can bench more than 200 pounds. He just doesn't look like he has it. But he didn't need to. He needed to be able to run 20 fucking miles in the snow. That was his skill. That was what he needed to do. That's what it's all been about for this guy. They needed to send him on the running errand because otherwise he dies, right? There's no way that you can send Gendry onto that island and then get him back again and the audience not go, really? They got Thoros of Myr, the fucking like red priest of Dawn or whatever the fuck he was.
Got him, though.
Well, the polar bear got him and then he succumbed to his wounds or whatever, like a bitch.
Yeah.
Speaking
At the end of the day,
bear,
though, Gendry, if you put two dragon glass daggers in the Hound's hands, he probably could have survived another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like the whole time being angry, I just want some pig's feet at the end of the day. And he's up there fucking fighting. But you give Gendry that, no chance.
No.
You need at least a little bit of precision time, which that's another thing. Like the height continuity of this show, it's easy to forget how much bigger the Hound is than pretty much every actor on this show until you see him and like Tormund there and you're just like, Jesus fuck, like that guy's like 7 inches taller than Tormund and Tormund is taller than Brienne and Brienne is taller than Jaime by a little bit, so where's Tyrion in all this? Like how much Tyrion is a Hound? Like 2.5 Tyrions at least to make it happen. But,
oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm super glad that little Magnificent Seven is still together. Like, I don't mind that Thoros died, because if nobody died in that whole thing, it would have been stupid. It's borderline stupid that more people didn't die.
I think it's good that more people didn't die, because it was always a Game of Thrones cliche that people die. Like, they defied expectations by having people live, which is the opposite of everything else.
I haven't been too upset by the timing of it, but this is the one timing aspect that was stupid and horrible, where they're on this rock, they send a guy running 20 miles, which takes in and of itself
a day.
At least a day. This is assuming that Gendry had been practicing snow sprinting in between his rowing.
4
and I
hours.
Sincerely doubt
I brought my
to
snow
run.
shoes.
It would take
4
him
hours is
so
a good
long.
marathon time, and Gendry looks fit.
I'm gonna say 8 hours because he's in the snow and he's been there once. He's probably gonna get lost.
You're right.
And it's,
yeah.
It's gonna take
I
8,
think
10, 12 hours.
that
And
would be the
then
best
you assume that it's the fastest raven in history. Send Speedy. We don't have time for the rest. And they send that raven. And let's
They had
assume
one
that
Peregrine Falcon on like loaner.
yeah, they have one Peregrine Falcon. And that's it. They send that, and apparently, like, the Raven Master is like reading it with binoculars from a distance, like, hurry, we have to tell, Danny of this message. And then before the dragons are even fed, they're fucking on the way back. Like this is a week-long thing going, like, they're the top of the kingdom to the higher than the top of the kingdom to the bottom of the kingdom.
I seem to
Not
be
the
one
bottom.
of the
It's
few
not the
people
bottom.
happy
southern
to
kingdom-
willingly
it's like the southern
suspend his disbelief on travel times. Like, if you tell me the guy ran 20 miles, they sent a raven, and she came back with the dragons on time, I'd say, thank goodness they were quickies. I am fine with
Yes.
that. I don't have a good grip on the map. Ger Martin himself says he like intentionally didn't lay out how far apart these things were, and they went sailing in one episode. They could have got a raven in an episode. I don't know.
I don't care about that. I'm trying to see.
I'm happy that the story's progressing and that that they're doing it Last
here's my
Kingdom
issue.
style.
Here was another one of my issues. All right, so at the end of, before this episode aired, at the end of the previous episode, we saw the Magnificent Seven go through those gates, and there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those motherfuckers.
Okay.
Then we actually get out there, and there's like 10 or 15, depending on how many people we need to die. All right? It's varying constantly. Every shot, there's a different amount of people. They throw an extra guy. The Hound must have like one guy up under his cloak. Oh, that's my cloak, red shirt. He stays in there. I do. Like, where did that guy come from? Okay, I understand. I love that there was a Dothraki guy there, because like, why wouldn't Daenerys send one of her like many thousands of screamers with the crew? He's there with his Dothraki spear, clearly trying to alpha male that group by leading leading them all. And all of them are too badass to even care. They're like, look at him out front. Never been north of the wall, he has.
I remember my first time in the snow. Yeah.
And of course, they're like,
You didn't think this was good shirt weather, did you? No? Yeah.
the bears have blue
I'd
eyes.
have recommended pants. Yeah.
So that motherfucker immediately gets eaten. They don't even show his body. He just gets turned to a splatter, right? Literally turned to a splatter. Then then there was a guy who falls off the cliff. I guess I'm going to call it a cliff. The steep part of the little island in the middle of the lake. He falls off and gets like eviscerated, like blood splatters everywhere, and he becomes a splatter. And I think there was a third red shirt, and red shirts for the uninitiated. Back in the original Star Trek series, everybody's got different color uniform. And the expendable guys, when you go down to a planet that you've never been to before, and somebody's going to sniff a flower, and that flower is going to shoot like a dart into someone's throat and kill them instantly, that's a red shirt, because he's literally wearing a red shirt. And you knew everybody goes down. It's the captain, it's Bones, it's Spock, it's Scotty, and
Some
Pete
dude
and
with the
Dave.
red shirt.
Dave, who repeated? Oh, Pete's dead. Oh, Dave's dying. Dave's dead too. Like, those are the red shirts, and that's what they did to us. And that ain't Game of Thrones style. You burn your real cards. There are no red shirts, and I didn't love that. That's why I'm saying would have rather had Tormund die than one of these red shirt guys die. It would have been a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
But
It would have meant so. I didn't
Tormund has
notice,
a purpose.
to what you were saying with those red shirt guys, I didn't know that saying about what a red shirt was. That's good to know. But there was one time, at one point when I was watching it, where it showed, of course, the Hound and Tormund and the gang all talking, and then it showed like a quick shot for like 3 seconds of like Beric Dondarrion, and then just some guy in a red tinted like helmet, like a leather bracer thing, and like it didn't register with me. I'm like, who the fuck is that? Like who is that guy? Am I really pulling just an old man thing and forgetting who this character is? And then I realized, oh no, that guy, he's gonna get attacked. He's gonna be polar bear, second breakfast after that first guy. So overall, I thought it was a really good episode. I did not like I didn't like the time frame thing more than anything, even more than the red shirt thing, just because like the time frame thing almost struck me as like if you're watching a World War II movie and you're pinned down. It's like, Sarge, we gotta call in air support, take out that Tiger tank. He's like, all right, air support, we need you to take out that Tiger tank. Oh, thank you so much. Well done.
Good
It was
shot.
that level
Good
of
shot.
good shooting, Tex. Let's pack it up. And it's like, no, it's 1941. We got a ways to go. Exactly. See you back at base or like whatever the fuck. It's like, no, this went way too fast. That didn't make sense. There should have been at least 2 or 3 more deaths. And if they were going to make any that made sense, it should have been Barrick, or not Barrick. It should have been Barrick in the service of saving John, and then Tormund.
That whole scene could have been saved, and I'll tell you how. You take the whole talk about Brienne between Tormund and the Hound, and you put it on that island, and then you have Jon spout up about Ygritte. And then you have Jorah mention something about the Khaleesi. And then Jon's like, she is pretty hot. and then you maybe have a little tension between Jorah and Jon talking about how fucking hot she is or something, and they're all like, "Oh, I've never seen a dragon queen's titties. You've seen them, Jorah?" And he's like, "Oh, I've seen them a few times." and then
Every night when I close my eyes.
Yeah, imagine that scene, and then that scene gives you a little bit of time passing because either it's nighttime, we're all gathered around the fire that is Thoros because they burned his body. I like that they burned his body, like no. They had to, exactly. And if I've been going back and watching, there's a YouTube channel that follows individual characters from beginning of story to the end, just focusing on one character. So I really enjoy that. There's one about Qyburn, the Cersei's like mad scientist of a maester, and you go all the way back to Harrenhal when Roose Bolton and Robb Stark rescue him for the first time, and then all the way fast forward to now, and you can really like pick up any fragments that you missed from doing that. I love the episode. It was top tier. It's top 3 for sure. It might be the best ever. It really was excellent, and we're just picking at little scabs at it.
I don't tend to dwell on like little timing things or whatever. I just think that one blew my mind. Can I think of one that's better? It might be the best. It might be the best episode of the best show ever made.
I mean,
it was. What part did you guys like, or what I guess really stuck out? Because obviously everybody's big thing is going to be that battle and the dragon and all that. What else about the episode really stuck out to you? Was like, this is really a good one.
It was the bear.
And that's not putting on the spot. I agree with you. It was one of the best.
I liked Tormund, was that his name? The wildling redhead dude, and clinging, the Hound talking. I liked their conversation a ton. It's amazing I follow the show at all by fucking up all their names.
Klingon. What's his name?
Klingon.
Clegane is what I was going for. And anyway, I don't know. The whole thing was magic. I want to watch it again. I feel like I just walked away with a really impressive experience. But when pressed for details as to why it was so great, like Danny's conversation with John at the end when he was willing to bend the knee and such, it's like I hope
Tormund
she blows
convincing him was a good moment. Tormund's talked about Mance Rayder. He's like, how many people died for his pride? And that totally stuck in John's head. Then you got, lots of fan service, right? You got Uncle Benjen riding in, get out of here. And then as soon as that horse rode away, I bet he was like, oh shit, I have plenty of time. Fuck.
Horses can take 2 people, huh? This is like the end of Titanic.
If I turn back now, I look like an idiot.
That's all.
This is the path I've chose.
Yes. He didn't even start running to try to get away. Like he was, all right, here we go. Fuck. When he came out of nowhere spinning that fucking thing like a Marvel character, very cool.
Awesome.
Loved that. Didn't know what was going to happen there. He's frozen solid. How's he gonna make it?
Everyone acts like one character died. 2 died, and some red shirts.
Yeah, I don't care about Uncle Ginger. He was technically already dead. His heart was no longer beating. And, he'd been living in that quasi dead / alive world. He had to die, and this was his best way of dying. That if he showed up an hour earlier, though, right? Like if he could have come up behind the White Walkers and like choked out the Night King with that chain, like. That probably would have been more helpful, Benjen. Just saying, where were you?
I hear fan service a lot as if it's an insult, but I think I like fan service. I think I like shows that tell the story, that give us what we want. Everybody wants a Clegane Bowl, right?
What do you mean by
I don't.
fan service?
No.
Just so I understand.
I've been reading it on the internet a lot. I don't know if Kyle has too, but they're
but
giving
fan
fans
service-
what they want, and somehow that's a negative.
When you're playing to the fans rather than playing to the honesty of the narrative that you've been telling to us for 70 fucking hours so far. That kind of irks me. It's like, nah, that's not the show I've been watching. It's not the show where you just like give me everything I want and just it's like the writers have been reading Reddit comments. Like it feels good, but it's a dinner of brownies to me at some point. I just wish it were spread out more. All these treats. It seems like they're just cramming a lot of brownies down our throat this episode, and I needed it a little more spread out.
Say
Like,
this.
You can
I
tell
think
it's because they have so many good ideas for conversation and so many little tidbits like the Tormund and the Hound thing. Like it's so good, but in all of their heads and of course everybody else's heads, we know this shit's wrapping up, and so they're having to take probably a remaining 4 seasons worth of like rewarding build up and whatnot and stuff that's like that conversation that was so truncated in this episode. It could have been 3 or 4 minutes longer if you had more seasons and whatnot. And now they're being forced to put it into such a tight package that it seems like, oh, I'm just eating gumdrop after gumdrop. Like I'm not earning these big heaps, you know?
If the show was made by perfect people, then somewhere back in season 3 it would have been sped up a little, and somewhere here in season 7 it could be slowed down a little to where every episode was great. But, we are where we are, and I don't mind them. I don't mind these playoff games being better than regular games.
I like the bear was so big for me because I remember very specifically, like that was one of the coolest moments in the books is when they're at the Fist of the First Men and they're retreating from the Fist, and then here comes the bear. It falls upon them. And I don't remember the guy's name, but it's like whoever the best remaining swordsman in the Night's Watch was. Like they're like, oh, and then Jimmy Joe stepped forward, and his steel flashed like silver, slicing and dicing the bear from stem to stern and carving a grievous wound which nothing could survive, and then bearing it to the hilt into the heart of the icy bear. And then the bear turned upon him and ripped his head from his body and roared. And it was just like, oh my God, the best of them just like sliced and diced this bear expertly, like just carved it up like a turkey, and then the bear just cut him down, and everybody watches it and they're just like, oh, what will we do? So these bears were built up as so hardcore that I was like, man, if they ever put that bear on screen, I'm gonna love it. And that bear showed up, and it was every bit as badass as they described it. It took the whole fucking group. If they'd had 3 bears, game over. Clegane was terrified.
The worthless piece of shit saw the
sword. It was on fire. That was a fire bear. Fire bear.
Yeah. That was a fire bear. Like, see, this is what I think. Like, if you put me in charge, you don't even have to make me a White Walker. Just let me. If they hired me on as a tactical consultant, and they were like, "All right, Taylor, so we're thinking about attacking here, and what are you gonna do, Mr. Night King?" Well, we're just gonna kind of throw everything we have at him. It's just gonna be a big wave, and it's no. How many bears do you have? You have 3,000 bears. Where are they? They're just scattered about. No. Send in one force of 3,000 bears, and this is over. I don't think you understand who you're up against. They don't have
Why
bears.
aren't you riding the bears?
Yes.
The horses you're riding. They're all sickly looking. You should all be riding a bear.
Yes.
Everyone, hop on a bear. Let's go.
Why are you riding
herbivores? You know what you should do?
Bring the giants forward. Each giant, take a bear in your hand. Yes. No, a bear in each hand. Now you punch the bears.
Or you know what you do is you send like a raiding party to where eventually the people in the north will be like, you know what I've noticed is not a lot of bear attacks. There used to be a lot of them. And then they realize over time, like, the White Walkers have been stealing all the bears, taking them up there, turning them into monsters. We're Scottish, this close to the wall, you'll notice. But they stole a lot of bears, all of our animals.
You don't get this analysis on Nerdwriter. We need bears with giants and hands.
That's what I would do. I would make sure that we were all organized, send in the bears first, but it would be a month-long process of we're going to send raiding parties, we're going to take all the most dangerous animals. Why are we not limiting ourselves? Why are we limiting ourselves to land here? Why not see about sea beasts? These are possibilities. We know that there's a kraken out there. You know, that maybe one well-placed can turn it. Who knows? That's why I'm a consultant. They just bring me on. I see how I can help.
You're an idea man.
Yeah, I'd love an ice kraken.
I'm a big picture guy.
I hope we get some explanation about the religions in this thing at some point. You know, like they talk about the Lord of Light constantly, and to a lesser extent the Drowned God and the Seven and all that stuff. I want to know if it's all one guy or if there's like a Mount Olympus up there and these guys are all like duking it out, or like what's going on. I'd like a little glimpse into that. That you want to give me some fan service. That's what I'm hungry for. I want to see this.
I think it's all the Lord of Light. I think it's all one thing.
It's not
the nice
though,
thing
because
about the Lord of Light is he proves he's real. You know, a lot of these other guys don't do anything. They just pray to them and hope that they help. Lord of Light kills people. He brings people back to life. He's actually real.
I'm struggling to think if we've gotten evidence that any of the other gods are legit. Like have we ever seen
has some power? I guess.
Well, that's coming from like the Children of the Forest, old timey magic.
That's like the old gods, right?
Yeah, that's the old gods. That's the trees. Yeah, that's the old gods. Yeah, that's the gods.
Their god thing is kind of like if all of the Nordic gods and all the Greek gods and all the Hindu gods, and they're all real, but they're all on like different areas on different levels of power, maybe. So like maybe the old gods are real, but they're just way weaker than the Lord of Light or something, or maybe or
disinterested. They could have tons of power, but they're like worried about some other thing. They're on Earth.
Yeah, they could be. See, they never consider that about gods. Is like if you were a god and you ran a whole universe, like as a person, you're like, oh, well, they probably want to listen to like our feedback, our customer service, so to speak. But in their heads as a god, like it would be like us listening to Lego people that we set up. It'd be like, no, I don't give a fuck what you have to say. Fuck up. Oh, you don't like the way Lego life is going? Lil Barry? All right, well, boom, Lil Barry's gone. No more of you.
Shake the ant farm. Yeah, you like that.
Like, I can totally see how if you were God, it'd be really easy to just be like, oh my God, these complainers. Like, I hate these people.
Yeah.
You know?
Earth is so boring. You know, there's real interstellar travel on this. Let's watch this other planet. They're doing cool shit.
I made Earth 2, and those people put on a show. And so you guys step it up, and we'll come back. You know, but things got bananas over there.
Is it time for a new topic, or are we still doing Game of Thrones?
I just want to say, like, man, that was really good. I loved it so much. I was watching just Spellbound. I was really just focused on it 1,000% because everyone had built it up so high, and it almost lived up to that, which is saying something because it was really built up high. It was 97% to perfection for me. There's just those little nagging tidbits, and back to what I said a few episodes ago when it was like, why did Jon and Bronn just magic their way out of this situation instead of being captured and then traded back, and then that way you get the whole Tyrion and Jaime Lannister talk as Jaime is a prisoner once again. He's a captive audience. That seems to make a little bit more sense than all of a sudden we can just smuggle right on into King's Landing at will in broad daylight. It's like, goddamn, right? Like, just a little rewrite here and there is all I ask. It feels like it felt a bit rushed, but borderline perfection. And it's better than any of the other shit on fucking television because this season of Rick and Morty is quite poor. The most recent episode, very good. I loved the newest episode because that's the like.
I haven't seen the most recent one.
Pickle Rick is like
just about Jerry.
I saw Pickle Rick. I thought Pickle Rick was not good.
Yeah, one of the worst ever. It's just flash and it's all flash and it's all sizzle, no steak. It's all flash, no substance. But the newest episode, it hits you right in the feelings a couple times. It's about Jerry and the dark place he's in, and he goes on a mission with just Rick and Jerry, and like Rick drags him out, of course, with no pants, and he's like, don't I at least have time to get some new my pants? He's like, I'll make you some pants. I don't want you to make me pants. Trust me, Jerry. Any pants that I make, you'll be better than anything you own. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I bet Rick makes a sick pair of pants. I mean, he's an intergalactic fucking smartest man in the universe tailor. Like, yeah, whip me up a pair. I like that
Rick and
episode
Morty.
a lot.
I didn't think the new episode was the best one of this season. I don't know. I guess I just don't like Jerry that much. I don't give a fuck about him. He's too much of a complainer. The complaint about Jerry is that he just whines and uses his like victimhood as a weapon. I'm disinterested.
Jerry grew as a character. So did Rick. They learned so much about each other. They experienced 1,000 lifetimes together.
Here's what
Rick fucked him in the ass.
One of the cast members on this show has a serious leg injury. Kyle, tell us what happened.
Well, it appears that Oh, no, I was going to tell your story. But, yeah. Let me see if I can.
What?
The dog bit me. The fucking the dog fucking like.
Look at that! Oh my gosh, Kyle, can you move it to
Wait.
your right? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's the
That's
right
the
there.
Is there
dog
anything
bite?
on that, or is that just the bruise?
That's just the bruise.
When was that?
3 days ago, I guess. I walked outside.
What a bitch.
I walked outside and Kitty had taken Dak out a different door, and I was like, "Hey, Kitty, what do you want to eat for dinner? You want to go to Cracker Barrel?" And Dak's like, "Arr, arr, arr," and runs right up to me, and he's like 2 or 3 feet from me, just kind of barking and lunging, and so I just go completely still and I stare off into the distance and try to like just not be a person anymore, and he just came in and pinched the back of my thigh.
What kind of dog is this again?
Your calf, right? Am I crazy?
Calf. Yeah, back of my calf. It's a Belgian Malinois. It's an attack dog, and his teeth are much sharper than like a regular dog's teeth. And
Kyle
he was very
bought
kind.
an attack dog, and tell me if I have this story right. They said, "Hey, this is a facility that raises and trains attack dogs, but we found that this attack dog is untrainable. Would you like him at a discount?" And Kyle said, "That sounds great."
No, they
How
had.
close am I?
That's like
Not very
adopting a
close.
kid from a juvenile detention
That's not what
center.
happened. That's not what happened. So I went to the attack dog training place. They do drug dogs and attack dogs and bomb dogs and all that shit. And I was like, and he shows me his dog, and he's like, "Samson, give me a Miller Lite." And Samson runs in the other room, opens the refrigerator, gets out a fucking Miller Lite, closes the door behind him, and brings it to this dude. And I was like, whoa! And I'd already seen him do all of his other stuff, running through obstacle courses on command and like attacking me on command and all that shit. I was sold. And I was like, dude, how much for one of these dogs? And he's like, $13,000. And I was like, fuck that.
Wow.
And he's like, but I've got this one over here that knows about 6 commands, and he would make an excellent pet. And he'll attack, he'll sit, he'll stay, he'll lie down, which is what, Pokken.
Oh, he wasn't defective in some way. I thought that was true.
In no way. No, no, in no way was he defective. He was just not fully trained. He'd had like 1 year of training rather than like 3 years of training or whatever it is. Like he was a junior attack dog, and they hadn't invested enough time in him for him to be worth $13,000. He wasn't a certified, ready to be sold to the military attack dog. He was somewhere in between a pet and an attack dog, and so that cost $3,000. And so I was like, give me that one. And so got him back, and it just didn't go well between he and I. We never really got along that well.
How long was it between the purchase and the realization it was a mistake?
Man, it wasn't long before he was in his kennel, which is like a little kennel, because like he was in the house at the time, and we just went out to go get some food, and he ate the cushion in the kennel, and then like vomited it up and shat it out, and then like ate the vomit and the shit, and then like vomited and shit the shit out again. He like shat out the vomit and vomited out the shit, and like it was like, and it created the most and then it all went in his special dog bowl, which is like unflippable. It's one of these dog bowls that has a lid, and then it's like a funnel. So like the shit vomit cushion is like down in there. So like you have to like clean it out by hand. And I just remember being outside like spraying it with a hose and brushing it and just. I knew right then I'd fucked up. Like, why didn't I get a Jack Russell Terrier like my dad? This little thing you throw under your arm that shits turds the size of your pinky. Like instead I've got this big monster. And then I took it out for that walk that time, and I had my katana on my back. And while I was walking, I was like, oh, look at this like tall weed like bush above by my mailbox. I'm just gonna chop all these weeds down. And I pull my thing out like I'm Donatello or something and start and like take one swack at him. And he saw that and reacted to it really strongly, and like wraps himself around the mailbox with his leash and pulls so hard that he pulls the mailbox out of the ground, and then somehow gets out of a full body shoulder harness and runs away into the night. He did that like 3 times, this thing where he would just run away, and this $3,000 fucking dog is just on the loose somewhere, and you'd chase him in a car and be like, Dak, no, come back. And he'd go, later. And just bing, take off, and he would leave and be gone, and you'd have to track him down.
After like maybe once or twice of that, didn't you want him to stay gone?
Yes, 100% I did, and they kept finding him. The last time it happened, he was like tied up.
Kitty? Yeah.
Kitty
Dude,
would
give
fight.
that fucking dog away.
It's Kitty's dog. See, that's the thing. It went from being my dog to Kitty's dog throughout that whole process, and now it is like bonded and stuck with her. It's
It
Kitty's
chose
dog.
Kitty.
And she has about 75-85% control over him, I would say. Because she was like,
Oh, that's not enough for an attack dog. Are you shitting me?
No, I'm not shitting you. That's
not
why he
enough
bit
at
me.
all.
She was standing right there when he bit me. She was going, no, Dad, don't bite him. And I'm like, don't intercede. Oh! Like, she always wants to, like, no, don't do it, Dad. And I'm like, your high-pitched squeals are driving him into a fervor. Like he thinks you're in danger. He thinks you're crying. like you're hyping him up. If you weren't here, we'd be cool. Like, you caused this. And so, like, I try to stay away from him. She keeps him in her bedroom or in his kennel, and keeps him on a leash and everything. But he's bad news if I'm there. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, he barks at me. It's like, no, he bites me. He comes at me.
You can occasionally
That
get along
sucks.
with him though, like, because I was there
under very specific like situations. Like if you're sitting on the floor on a couch and like he gets put on the couch and Kitty's not there, well then I'm the only human here. Like yeah, I can pet him and he'll let me pet him and we'll be straight. But if like she's walking him down the corridor and he suddenly sees me, he just goes into a ferocious bark, just freaking the fuck out. And there's no amount of bacon or like petting or speaking to him kindly that's going to solve that. He has identified me as a problem and wants no part of me.
Because I've done that thing with him where I was on the couch and like his head's on my lap and he appears to like me. And I'm like, aha, 2 or 3 days of being good to this dog, letting him know that I'm a friend, has paid off. And now he and I are on good terms. No, he will revoke that friendship. His emotional bank account has a fucking hole at the bottom and it drains all the time. And you just pour more and more into it and you think you've done something, but it turns out it's empty again.
He has personality. He is not a dumb like animal that you can just be like, hey, I got bacon, I'm your man now. And he's like, oh yeah, you got the bacon balls. He's like, nah, I remember you, motherfucker. You can scratch me all you want. It's just like us. Like if someone you hated like came up and like did a kind thing for you once, you'd be like, I mean, I'll eat this delicious pie you baked me, you cocksucker, because I don't know what poison is because I'm a dog, but in no way does this make us straight.
I don't give any credit to the dog for being smart. It's a retard who at this point has not figured out that, you know who the smart dog is? The one who walks by and when bacon is presented, he goes, oh, it's a pretty good gig. Just sit down and shut up, get fed. Do you know what a retarded, stupid dog does? Is it walks through the home of someone it's lived its entire life with another person that it's lived its entire life with, and gets angry for no reason. It knows that nobody's made happy by that. Unless that dog is stone cold, pants on head retarded, it cannot think that barking at you all the time is making Kitty, its preferred human, any happier.
For a long time,
there's just no
Kitty
way.
wanted to
some dogs are
castrate
just
the
shitty,
dog. Is
just
that what
like
you
people.
call it when they fix it? Kitty wanted to take the
neuter.
dog's balls, neuter. And Kyle was the only thing between a pair of scissors and that dog.
Yeah.
Metaphorically. And I think you eventually got him neutered,
Literally.
right? Yeah.
Literally.
Well, the scissors was the... Yeah, but...
I bet they use some little scissors, right? Like you know.
I wouldn't know. I
snip,
pictured a
snip.
scalpel, but you could be right.
They always
matter.
say, snip, snip. In any case, like it has been neutered since then, and like that didn't calm him down a bit.
It might have worked
Piss him
better
off.
if you did it younger. Like
Perhaps.
I know that with some
yeah.
dogs they say 18 months. You wait longer than that, and they hang on to those male tendencies, aggressiveness, and such a little longer.
Yeah. I don't
But who
know.
knows?
All I know is that like in the future, my dogs will always be those little fuckers that like it doesn't matter if he's a machine gun. Like I always see this debate about pit bulls, and I do think that pit bulls are inherently aggressive, but I don't think they're the only dogs that are inherently aggressive towards
no,
people.
of course not.
I've met so many little dogs that are machine guns that'll just and you're just like, bring it, motherfucker. What are you gonna do? Boom! Like, it's just a little fucking like 15-pound piece of shit. Like if you nip me and break the blood, I'm gonna spank your ass.
My grandpa didn't play that shit. Or still doesn't play that shit with dogs. He's obviously a farmer in southern Missouri, and like when he brings up stories of like, yep, I remember when you were real little, Taylor, we had a dog named Felicia. It ran up and bit a little boy right on the chest. Ran back. His grandpa came over, told me what happened. I was like, what? So what'd you have to do? Just keep it in a cage? He's like, oh no, went out and shot it. Shot it. threw it away, and
That's
it was
what
like,
happened. Yeah.
okay,
I
like how many times has that happened with different dogs? Like, oh shit. Oh well.
That's great.
A dog bit me when I was a child. A Rottweiler bit me in the face when I was a kid. I was maybe
Really?
6. I don't have a scar. It didn't bite me badly. I was just all slobbery, but it meant it. It was like "Arr!" It like lunged at me because 6-year-old, maybe I was just like being rougher with it than it liked being played with. Meanwhile, my dogs were like Labradors, and you could just like you fucker, let's go, and
Make
like
them
wrestle
talk
with it and
their
stuff.
lips.
Labradors are wonderful. But this Rottweiler fucking bit me. They fucking shot that thing, cut its head off, and sent it to test it for. I guess they cut the head off and send it for testing for rabies. That's what they do.
Yeah.
I guess they just test the brain. As a kid, that seems so barbaric. It was like, it didn't register to me that they needed to cut off the head for like a scientific reason, medical reason, or whatever. It was like, so that's what they do. They beheaded it.
There's a canine guillotine where they like strap it down with no morphine or anything and just chop its head off. Braveheart
It's never
style.
gonna get their next day air unless we cut this fucking head off.
Right.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say right for the vet lets it go. Yeah, fuck that dog.
That sucks about your leg, man. You know what?
No, I was jokingly like talking about my bullshit leg wound today, and because yours is actually a serious injury that we're all hoping you
pull
heal
through
up from
on.
quickly.
Yeah, so
It's not nearly as bad of a prognosis as you initially thought. Like it's pretty quick compared, like your healing. I mean now, right?
So I go back and forth on that. You might be slightly out of date. So what happened is the first ortho surgeon told me 3 months. 3 months with no walking, no pressure, whatever. And then some period of time, maybe as much as 3 more months in a boot that like allows me to walk and put pressure on it, but not move it very much. And it was like 6 months. Like, oh my gosh, like I don't do well being held down like that, and I will be very unhappy, and I won't be as good a husband, a father, a dog owner, etc. And so I started looking on the internet, and I found stuff that said 6 weeks you heal. But I've since read some more, and they're like, yeah, it takes about 6 weeks to heal a broken ankle, except for the very severe ones. And the very severe ones, multiple bones are broken. Sometimes very severe ones can involve surgery or even metal plates in the worst scenarios. And then it was like, in really, really bad ones, sometimes the foot gets like dislodged from where it belongs. The surgeon has to put the foot back and then like put all the bones around it. And I'm like, I'm just checking every box in this very everything I've said so far describes my injury. So I have an ortho guy that I love. I've been playing this game on throwaway account mode since I was 12. So I've got a lot of experience with my ortho doctor and stuff. And like I've said before, he worked for the Packers, the Indianapolis Colts, the Hurricanes. He's a sports medicine guy, and he has the same attitude around like these injuries that I do. Like all right, how much PT can we throw at this thing? How can we make it better? And by the way, we're not looking to just like hop into a car again. We're looking to do fun shit again on the other side of this. Like, what does it take? And I see him Friday. So this show and the next show, I'll still be in the dark. That's PKA. And then on Friday, the day after PKA, I'll meet with him and I'll learn something.
Yeah. I would be like, hey, I'm open-minded here. So if you want to put me in an oxygen tent, you got some stem cells back there, whatever. I'm
going to mention that. And I like you said, I'm open-minded here. Maybe we'll throw some cash at it. You can fuck it. Like I heard Dana White talk about his stem cell treatment, and they put a needle in him like the size of a Slurpee, and then they suck out like this big blood, whatever, and then they swirl it. It was for his
but they take it from his spinal fluid, right?
Oh, okay. It sounds like too. I don't know, but maybe they got it from his spine. In my head, it was blood. They do something to it, and then they put his own stem cells back into him, and it fixed that ear problem he had. Kyle, are you familiar with the ear problem?
Did he have tinnitus?
No, he had. I think it's called like Menageries disease or Meninger's disease, something close to that. You know me and names. But what it did is, what is it? Taylor will know this. Your vestibule system, like your sense of up and down and moving around. It's close to that. I'm sorry I'm ruining this. But anyway,
No, it's okay.
He would get vertigo to the extreme. He's like, you know, you're drunk and you know, you think you're spinning around, but you're not. He's like, that is
Yeah.
nothing. He's like, I would grab onto chairs and stuff. It would happen to him. He flies a lot. So he'd be on a plane, his private plane, laying in the aisle, grabbing the bolted down chairs because he feels like he's spinning and the flight has to get somewhere, right? He's like, this is life ruining. He thought he was going to have to leave the UFC over it. He had a surgery. And the doctors hemming and hawing saying, I don't know if you should have this surgery. You know, like 70% of the people it helps, 30% it doesn't. And he's like, yep, I'm rolling the dice. Let's do this. You know, like I'm going to do it. And the doctor's like, yeah, you know, maybe you want to think about this. He's like, nope. Has the surgery. He's in the 30%. It made it worse.
Yeah, Dana White's one hell of a liar, but
that's true.
I think we need him out there to keep getting the entertainment we're getting. Although, like, I'd like some changes in the UFC.
But there's a little more to this story. So Derek Jeter calls him up and says, I got this guy in like Germany or something. He does stem cell stuff and he fixes everyone. Your healing is like you've never seen before. And he's like, huh? He's like, yeah, I think the other guy was Kobe Bryant. He's like, I sent Kobe to him too. We're so happy. You got to meet with this guy. And so he talks to Kobe. And Kobe's same thing. He's like, yeah, Dana, you got to get this guy. And that's when he was the thing. I think Kyle said he took like some fluid out of his spine or bone marrow, who the fuck knows, and a needle that he said looked like a Slurpee straw. And then I think they come back like 3 months later after they're done doing something to it, growing
they put in a centrifuge and separate the parts and
plasma into the all the science happens.
They do some sciencey shit.
The science machine.
And then he went for repeated treatments of that, and he's cured. He's cured. This is a thing that like, I guess it's all Western medicine, but like his surgery couldn't fix. Nothing seemed to fix. All the experts were stumped on, and then they did some sort of stem cell magic to it, and they fixed him. And I don't know. Like what I've been doing thus far, I've Googled on the internet, and I found some relatively harmless bro science stuff. Like, oh, leafy green vegetables are super important. Vitamin D is super important. Peppers, this and that. Get some milk in you. And I'm like, all of these things are really okay. You know, I'm not rolling the dice too much on this. So I'm not.
It's all shit. It's shit that couldn't possibly hurt.
Right.
It's like if it told you, hey, be sure to eat healthy, get a lot of sleep. It's like, okay, all right. Well,
exactly.
On it.
I am working on the sleep schedule. It's kind of fallen off a bit. And tonight I'm going to take some melatonin, get to bed on time. And I guess just, you know, I used to wake up in the morning and fly sometimes or just be on a schedule. And I had friends and now all I do is lay in bed with my foot elevated. Those are kind of doctor's orders. And when you lay in bed with your foot elevated, it's super easy to fall asleep at 2 p.m. And then it becomes super hard to fall asleep at 10 p.m. And that's what happened. So I'm working on that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, keep going.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. If I had that foot injury, I'd be doing the exact same thing. I'd be looking for like, alternative treatments that are legit. And when you hear that story you told about, like, Kobe said it and Derek Jeter said it. All right, well, how much? You know, like how much?
It was like $10,000. And
dude,
right? Like, dude, would you get
for your foot? For your foot?
Right?
Like, and here's the thing: like, while you're there getting your super foot put on, you could be like, hey, if I slip you another 15, what could you make happen? We're in Germany, motherfucker. Let's make it an even 25 and make my vertical 6 more inches, right? Like, give me some of them Kobe Bryant moves. That guy played until his late 30s. Come on.
How about next year, instead of turning 45, I turn 40? What do you think? Huh? I like that. No?
I bet if you talk to someone like that, especially because he's German, you know, they've been very
they got some Nazi shit going on over there. Scientists have been working.
We have not your reputation for experimental procedures. Yeah, they.
Yes, mein Führer.
Maybe they do that.
So
what would have given you the idea that we would be open for something like that? You know, I kid. You know.
I wish I could do these accents for my doctor and tell him my line of thinking. But anyway, so my doctor, I have the fullest confidence in him. He's the guy that fixed my ACL, and I like this about him. I think I might have told this before. When Joe Lozon broke my hand, possibly Kyle. I went to my doctor and he didn't operate. He was like, you need a specialist on this. He's like, he said, if your hand was vanilla, I'd be your guy, but you are Rocky Road. And he sent me to a hand specialist. And even that like raised my opinion of him. Because, rather than be like, oh, yeah, you need a haircut, sit right here in the chair. I do haircuts.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Not with haircuts specifically, but like anytime you're getting a contractor, a carpenter, anything, and like you see their finished work and you're like, you thought this was going to cut it? You thought this is what I wanted? No, I want a guy who is like if you hired somebody to cut your bushes, like you want a topiary expert, right? I want fucking giraffes and gazelles out there.
If I wanted it to suck, I'd have done it myself.
Like it's not even on that side. It's like, oblong, you fool. Like you want a pro sometimes, and people aren't. I've been watching a lot of Gordon Ramsay, and it's super satisfying because he does he's got like 8 different programs, but the gist of it is always that he's going to teach some people how to cook who think they know how to cook, but they don't know how to cook. And to see them like be in that state of like self-delusion where they're like, yo, lots of people like my food. I don't know what the problem is. And he's like, your food is shit. It's shit. And you're like, and he has to bring like one guy in Denver had these pizzas. He's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with my pizza. And Gordon literally has to like take his pizza, a frozen pizza, and the best pizza in town, and get like 100-person survey. He's like, 87% of the people liked this $30 pizza from the best place in town. 10% like the frozen pizza, and three out of 100 people preferred your shitty ass pizza. And he's like, are you gonna change your ways? And he's like, nah.
We don't need more than 3% of the pizza market.
Some people just admit that they're not the man in their field of supposed expertise. But when you see someone who is humble about that, they're like, look, the most important thing is you. So let's get you to Johnny Big Dicks over there. He solves everybody's problems, or wherever. Like the idea that there's some guy. I like that it's in Germany too for some reason. Because I feel like they haven't been restricted by a George W. Bush at any point, who was like stem cells are evil.
Do that. Yeah.
Yes, he did. That never happened to them. So I feel like why wouldn't they be a little bit more advanced than us at those techniques? Like maybe they're grinding up fetuses over there. I don't care. I don't care if they literally vacuum the living fetus out and grind it in a food processor. If it makes feet better, do it.
That sounds.
We should probably have some standards. I mean, that's pretty. That's like.
Yeah, it's easy to have standards when you're limping around,
dude,
right?
Seriously, if like Hitler was all about eugenics, but if like a slideshow got brought, like poster board got brought to him and showed him like, mein Führer, this is how it is going. He'd be like, oh my goodness. I know we are doing the whole concentration camp thing, but I think we've really run out the evil path on that. This is enough. We are done with. Oh my God. Oh Jesus Christ. They're going to find this shit and burn it. Yeah. God.
Nah, he'd been on board for that shit. Like he was looking at stuff with the occult and trying to use satanic powers to win that fucking war. So he'd have been down with a little fetus sucking. No, I'm okay with them sucking the fetuses out. Like, I don't care,
These
8, 9, 10 years old, whatever.
Mothers who made this choice, right? Like, you don't just get to cull
no,
the
you just roll up to some pregnant chick with a shop vac and make it happen. Of course, they volunteer.
Well, what if they didn't volunteer, but they're Jewish?
Now, you grow your own fetuses. There should be big plants where they're just cranking out fetuses. Clone the same one 1,000,000 times over. Find, whatever fetus has the genetic predisposition to make a lot of stem cells. Like, oh, yeah, this one's got 20% more. Look how big and plump it is with stem cells. And just grind them the fuck up. Clone 1 billion of them. And just run around sticking people with this shit.
These aren't overripe tomatoes.
Yes, they are.
Yes,
they are. Grow them in I just imagine row upon row upon row of big, oversized pink IV bags with amniotic fluid in them and little fetuses in them, growing until they're ripe. And then you just you pluck your fetus down, grind it up or whatever. And get those stem cells out.
Creepiest shit imaginable.
Yeah, it's creepy until all of a sudden, your paralyzed uncle can walk, and your mom who couldn't speak yesterday is telling you she loves you. Fuck those unborn sacks of meat. Fuck them.
It's funny. It wasn't until late in my life, probably older than Kyle is now, that I started to see babies as people. I remember I'd watch Law and Order episodes where a 1-day-old got thrown in a dumpster, and my thought process, evil as it seems to current me, would be at least it was just an infant. It wasn't like it had thoughts and feelings and care, and
it's the opposite of what most people think.
It is.
They go, oh my God! I don't understand this at all. I've known babies were people ever since I was one.
1-day-old baby is really like a puppy in terms of its development, right? Like if a 9-year-old dies, it's tragic, especially if it was a good-looking 9-year-old, right? But if it was a 1-day-old, then that 1-day-old is barely aware of this. It's not current me. I see Taylor doing the digging, but the 1-day-old is just barely aware of what's happening. It doesn't know its mom.
I guarantee there's a warehouse full of Chinese babies just growing somewhere. The Chinese do not have any scruples about this bullshit. Like half of them are Buddhists, right? They believe in reincarnation anyway. Like they don't like. Why would they care? Like this is the future.
None of this is true. None of this is accurate.
It's absolutely true. Well, I mean, some of them
jump on board, Taylor.
It was originally Shintoism,
Team
where they
Evil's having a great time over here.
And they switched over to Buddhism. I watched the whole John Oliver thing about the Dalai Lama recently.
Oh, then you must be really informed.
Oh, totally. That's all.
Was he smarmy in a British accent, talking down to his Second Amendment rights?
No, he went and met the Dalai Lama and like had a whole conversation with him, because like the thing is that the Dalai Lama has to discover the child who is going to, or he picks a guy called like the Shishi Dalai Lama or something, and that guy has to find like who's going to be the next reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. So he picked that child like years ago. He picked this little kid. He's like, oh, this kid is the reincarnation of like the something Lama or whatever. He will be the one to find my reincarnation once I die. The Chinese government locked up that 3-year-old baby and took it, never to be seen again. And whenever they're asked about it, the press release says like, he's doing fine. He wants you to respect his privacy. He's doing fine. And it's like, what? Well, they never seen him again. So he asked the Dalai Lama, he's like, you might be the last one. And he's like, yeah, I might be. You know, it was a really cool conversation he had with the guy. They talk about Buddhism and Shintoism and the whole thing.
What a fucking fount of wisdom this guy is. Here, I'm gonna read a couple Dalai Lama tweets, and you're gonna tell me if it's a Dalai Lama tweet or if it's a 13-year-old girl. Okay.
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 All right. Inner beauty, warm-heartedness, and compassion is what brings about peace of mind.
13-year-old girl.
Dalai Lama.
That's the Dalai Lama.
Okay.
We all want to live a happy life, so we have to learn to live together in trust and mutual respect.
I'm going to say Dalai Lama because we've read that in a 13-year-old girl way as a diversion.
I think they're all Dalai Lama.
That one's Dalai Lama. Education today needs not only to develop our intelligence, but also to support basic human values of warm-heartedness and compassion.
Girl.
That's a girl.
No, it's the Dalai Lama again.
Are they all Dalai Lama?
These are all Dalai Lamas. They're all because he tweets like a 13-year-old girl. This is what someone tweets like when they've had an entire life of people going, you are so smart. Like, you really got this figured out, don't you? Like, no. Just no. Just because everybody else says to be kind on the internet doesn't mean that you are being redundant. You're not being redundant, Mr. I'm too cool to follow people on Twitter because I have a bunch of sycophants surrounding me. There's no problem with me here. You just sit in your fucking robe and tweet about how much we need warm-heartedness and goodness and other vague nonsense.
Is take a collection of Dalai Lama tweets and Jaden Smith tweets and see if we can tell them apart.
Oh, fuck
Jaden
that.
Smith's tweets are more interesting. I guarantee.
These
aren't even interesting. Like, there's no stance to be had on the Dalai Lama's tweets because they're so innocuous that you can't even hammer down a point.
He seems like a really good guy.
Don't give a fuck.
Oh, by the way, John Oliver, I think if you watch his stuff, I don't know if Taylor could possibly be won over, but his self-deprivation, he started throwing that in there. Like, I think he was talking about nuclear waste recently, and he's like, I don't know anything. I'm not a scientist, although I do have the face of one. And then he gets like, he throws in little self-deprivation marks.
Yeah.
Is it deprivation?
Deprecation.
Deprecation. Thank you. I'm messing it up. He throws in these self-deprecating remarks, and I feel like it adds to the show, the self-awareness he's throwing in there. Whereas he used to be like sort of
too cool for school.
Too cool for school. He would like he's saying pretty bright things, but the writers are who's saying them. He's just delivering them. And I feel like at the start he sort of took credit for all this things he was doing, and now he bills himself more as the pitch man in front of a team.
I liked his stuff. I like it more too. Yeah. I've recently went back and watched. I didn't watch him for a while because he was so anti-Trump. But I recently went back and I just don't like foreigners telling us what to do. And so I went back and I like maybe the last week and I watched all this shit that I hadn't seen before. I liked virtually all of them. It's fun to go back to the early Trump stuff and to see what he was saying back then because I didn't watch. And it's really I like the nuclear waste thing. I saw that one as well. That was good. That was the most recent one, I think.
It is, yeah. I like most of his stuff, although sometimes I feel like he points out problems like they're ridiculous, but he doesn't have any solutions. And
yeah,
I prefer.
Well, sometimes with the nuclear waste thing, like no one has a solution, and that's kind of his point, right? He's like, we've been dragging our feet for 40 years. Like look at this reporter from 40 years ago being like, this problem is no closer to being solved, and it really needs to be quickly because this is 240,000 years worth of waste we have here. And like, as a kid, we were always like, shoot it into space. And they covered that. I don't know who the lady that does like canned audio they had was, but she was like, we don't have a great record of getting rockets into space reliably. And well, if just one of them failed, it would pretty much irradiate a large part of the United States, if not the globe. And it's like, oh shit, yeah. And like while she's saying that, they're showing a rocket tumbling in the air and exploding, and you're like, oh, that could be that's because it's much worse than a nuclear weapon. You would much rather have a hydrogen bomb go off in Kansas City, Missouri, than you would like a few tons of that nuclear waste get blown up with a dirty bomb in the same area. Like you'll rebuild that city and it'll be fine in a few years. Look at Hiroshima, Nagasaki. They're living there right now. But look at where they had the spill in Russia. And look at Fukushima. Those areas are going to be uninhabitable for a very long time.
I bet they do something with Fukushima.
They'll figure it out. Some kind of spray.
What they're doing right now
is
is sending
of dirt and move it and put new dirt in and something.
Or just like bomb it all the way through to the other side.
To the other side of the planet. That's
no.
You know?
Like if you like you just okay, all right.
Yeah, that's us.
Well,
that's
then
us.
it's not. Then it's not really my problem.
It's not, except that they're getting the tuna is getting irradiated, and they've got those radioactive boars and stuff there. And I read those articles about how there's like these really old Japanese guys. These people are so honorable fuckers who are like volunteering to go. They're like, I only have a few more years left. Send me in to clean up the waste. That's why those people are so goddamn dangerous. That's why we had to bomb them back to the fucking Stone Age 50 years ago. Because those people get an idea in their head and
it's because those are all veterans being like, technically, I still get to die in the war. If I go out here and do this.
We talk about digging a hole through the earth. When I was a kid, dig a hole to China was like a common expression. You keep digging, you hit China. Everybody knew that. And I watched this Canadian program. It was like a little Thanksgiving special or something. And they're like, yeah, we're going to dig a hole all the way to Australia. And it was just like... Anyway, that's my story.
So all of these U.S. Navy vessels have been colliding with things. And my personal theory is that the Chinese are messing with our guidance systems. Because it's all happening, at least in the same region of the world as China, especially this last one. I think that the Chinese are fucking with those boats' navigation systems and causing these incidents to happen because it just seems like we're having a rash of them. And then today, I said that like 3 days ago to Chiz, and he was like, "Look at you, Mr. Tom Clancy." And then today, like the Secretary of the Navy is like, "We have neither confirmed nor denied that there may have been like electronic interference with the guidance systems, but it is being looked into." And I'm like, "Aha! Tom Clancy is true." Like, I think that's what it is, because these things don't just hit shit.
Yeah. And it's also not that hard to do, I've learned. Now, I don't know if the military has a better way of doing it, but I forget where, it might have been a John Oliver thing, but I was reading about a YouTube video. They're talking about GPS, and they said that it's actually a lot easier to disable GPS than you might guess. You can put a blocker on there. And there was a trucker who didn't want to be tracked by his employer during like certain hours of the day or whatever. And he put a blocker, and it like disabled big chunks of New York and New Jersey whenever he drove around there, because he would just disable GPS for everyone. Apparently it's not super hard to disable GPS.
Yeah, but they've got so many systems. I only know because like there's a YouTube channel that I recently watched, and they had like a 10-minute video about the USS John McCain. They were like, the USS John McCain, could it single-handedly defeat North Korea? It was something like that. It was like the USS John McCain, like why China's terrified of this boat. And they talk about like the X-band radar and the Y-band radar, and it's got like the systems are incredibly sophisticated, and it's the deck of the boat and its armaments are all modular. And what I mean by that is you've just got some square holes that you could put any weapon system in, depending on what it's going to do. So if you need lots of torpedoes, it can just do nothing but torpedoes. It could be like hundreds of torpedoes. But if you need lots of anti-air, you could just put the anti-air stuff in there. It's got like 4 or 5 different weapon systems that do everything from ship to ship, ship to air, ship to land, ship to submarine, all that shit. And they can tweak it to be any ratio of those factors. It was incredibly advanced. And then they talked about the radar system and this. I didn't know what X-band radar was, but apparently it means that it doesn't just it's not always just looking in one direction and like checking stuff out. It's always looking, no matter, and it's got one system that's just always looking 360 degrees in a giant sphere, and then it's got another one that's like focusing in on stuff and being incredibly accurate. It just seems crazy. This thing hit a big oil tanker, or rather, the oil tanker hit it. You know, it ran into the path of a slow-moving oil tanker.
They're talking about, so last time, I forget which ship it was, but the first one that got into a big accident and like 10 people died, they fired the captain and some, like it's the second in command, a couple guys. This time they're talking about firing the equivalent on this ship as well as the boss. They're like, you know, whoever the top guy is in that area, not even on the ship, he needs to get fired too because he's got too much incompetence below him. We'll see. We'll see.
I also saw the Navy saying that maybe this has something to do with the fact that we've been like going for like 25 years of war. Like there's got to be some kind of like the guys are tired. They've been going nonstop for too long. They need to stand down for a bit. Like
what
maybe
do you
that's
think
part
of
of it
the
too.
story lately with the Secret Service? Speaking of going.
From what I understand, that's not a new thing. They said that's been a systemic thing since the going back. I think it just didn't get publicized as much. Although Trump's certainly spending a lot of money.
He's more expensive.
He's more expensive. Bigger family, more trips. New York especially is expensive. Honestly, I don't care. It sounds like the Secret Service needs more funding. If he was able to bankrupt them this fast.
So the reason I don't care is, look, love or hate Trump, he's the president of the United States and he needs protection, period, right? You don't get to say favorite president, least favorite president, we protect them differently. No. Is his family more expensive because they're travel and this and that? Yeah. So what? You know, like some presidents are going to be more expensive than other ones. I get it, right? Obama had younger kids. They all moved together. It was simple. Trump has older kids. They're spread out. It's complicated. Things happen. The only thing about it is that a lot of the Secret Service money is going into Trump's pocket. And that, to me, is where I don't like it. You know, I hear things like, oh, we've spent like $1.5 million on golf cart rentals at Trump's places so far for the Secret Service. And I think, oh, well, that's where it's fucked. You
gotta buy, not rent, bitches. Why is there not a Secret Service golf cart all black and pimped out, 30 horsepower?
It looks like, no. Woody's right. It looks like, not millions. It looks like the Secret Service has spent $60,000 to rent golf carts.
I think it's each.
Yeah,
well, that's what I read. I know that's insane.
This is just in Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago. So those are renting from his own club.
Yeah, and that's the frustration. Also, they're getting hotel rooms at his club. They're getting golf carts at his club. They're getting like a lot of the Secret Service money. Of course, a lot of it goes to the actual salaries, but a lot of it is going back to Trump. So, like every weekend he spends at Mar-a-Lago, or is it Bedminster in New Jersey?
Yeah, something like that.
And, like every time he goes there, he thinks, oh, yeah, that puts another like $3 million in my pocket, because that's what the government spends to protect me. And I just don't like the way that's lined up.
I heard him say the White House was a dump and he just didn't like to be there. He said it was pretty rough.
I forgive. Look, I have a lot of issues with
Trump.
I'm
not mad that he said that. It's probably true.
Yeah, and then I heard the HVAC system was
it's probably not true. I bet
old.
it's a pretty nice mansion.
I bet it's really nice, but parts of it are old. I have a friend who met with senators, and so he went to a senator's office, and he's like, kind of sucked. He's like, it was an old government office building. The cabinets that he had were those like metal kinds that they're not like wooden and decorative,
just
and
shitty
walnut or something. Yeah, they're it's probably served several senators and they work fine. They were quality cabinets, but they weren't nice. The HVAC system was loud and you had to speak up. And
it wasn't like what you'd see at a law office when you're trying to impress prospective clients.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. And
because it's like, what are you gonna do? Go to the other government. Fuck off. Wait as long as you tell you to. You know?
So
I'll get you your form in a disorganized and not punctual way.
We've all seen the White House. It's amazing, and the carpets are replaced and the drapes and this staff of people upkeeping it. But I'm sure there are aspects of it that are yucky because it's old.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't care about how much money. I don't care about how much money he wastes, and like he's gonna have to stay somewhere. I suppose.
He's pocketing it. That's the
yeah.
The part
I
where
think I like
care.
that better. I think I like that better that
Really?
he's pocketing it rather than like it's gonna be somebody, right? If they go somewhere, somebody's getting paid, so it might as well go back to him. Yeah, that.
Then you've got a problem of motivations.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe he's golfed like 20 out of the first 21 weekends because it gets himself paid.
There's a
whereas
perfectly fine golf course at Camp David. You can play.
You know what? Trump should be able to golf as much as he wants if he stops using the cart. If he starts burning some calories, if he gets out there, he starts walking around because that he's sitting in there. You know that he's sitting in there driving that golf cart, and you know that he holds it over his friends. He's like, I've never had a drink in my entire life. I don't drink alcohol. I think it's for weak people.
Is that
and
true?
Then he doesn't. He's a teetotaler. He doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, doesn't do anything. But he's just sitting there like, and time for my daily third muffin. And he's just fucking eating his muffin as people are like, God, you really think your health? We're having 2 light beers. You've ate 6 muffins, Mr. President. Like, but I'm sober is the point. It's just like, but anyway, you guys want to call it a show?
Yeah, sure. I could. All right, so PKN episode 157. I hope you guys liked it. I had fun.